Chapter 26. All is not well. The dust storm has finally ended. The sky was clear for the first time in months. But below ground, a different kind of storm was raging. A dark, gloomy sadness had fallen on the settlement. It crept around corners and curled up on the couch. It made mealtime silent and stole away laughter. Everything felt diminished, bland, like all the candor was gone. In my random quiet moments that I missed my friends the most, like when I was brushing my teeth or petting Leo or doing nothing at all. Like now, it was early morning and I was lying in the bed. Instead of getting a few more minutes of sleep, I was thinking about Amelia. What would she be doing today? Would she and Tavani and we play ping pong? What diggy reel would they be watching tonight? The breakfast chime sounded in the distance. Albie didn't move in his bed. I knew he was awake because the room was quiet. No snoring. Isn't it time to get up, I asked. I guess so, he said without enthusiasm. Albie wasn't the same. Sure, he did his chores and went through the motions, but he never smiled now. He arrived late at breakfast. Salty Bill brought out a tray of green buns for us. I made you kids a special treat, Salty Bill announced. They're all chocolate. Thanks, I said, taking one. I took a bite of the chewy bun. It didn't taste as good as I remembered. Then again, and nothing seemed as nice as those days. Of course, I was happy to be home, but I glimpsed another kind of life, and it had been snatched away. It was like a diggy reel I would never get to finish. Cy uncleared his throat loudly. So, Trey, how would you like to be my new junior apprentice? No, thank you, Trey said quietly. What? Cy asked. But you've always wanted to be an apprentice. Trey wouldn't meet Cy's eyes. I changed my mind. I wasn't surprised. We all had lost our spark. There was nothing to look forward to anymore. No reason to be excited. Take Flossie. She stopped dressing up in her fun earth outfits. Next to her, Vera was picking at her breakfast. Her hair was growing out and her bangs were sloppy. They were distinctively un-Vera. Even the grown-ups noticed something was wrong. Are you going to eat your hair again, Vera? Memes asked. What's the point? It's not like anyone will ever see it, she replied loudly. Memes sighed. In fact, maybe I'll pierce my nose. I hear that's an Earth custom, Vera taunted. Who cares what I look like, right? Vera knocked her chair and stormed out of the mess hall. I'll be fine, Meme said, trying to sound positive. She's just going through a phase. It won't be fine, Flossie cried, and she's not going through a phase. She leapt up and ran the same way. I wanted to run away too, because I finally understood how Muffin must have felt. The settlement, my home, didn't feel so cozy anymore. I felt trapped, like a mouse in a cage, like a girl in a mask. A few days later, Memes announced it was the time to clean up Philomena's bedroom. Trey and I volunteered to help Memes set through his belongings. He would box them up to send him to his nephew on Earth on the next supply ship. While his office was messy, his bedroom was oddly tidy. Everything was in its place, right down to the way he folded his socks. In balls, like cat toys. His bed was still made. Corners perfect, sheets tight. I pictured the heel, the head leaning on the pillow, and my chest felt heavy. Everywhere there was reminders that life has been cut short. A needle was thread in the next to the button. A book into a dog-eared page on the table next to his bed, waiting to be finished. I picked up the diggy pic of Phineas and his wife from the dresser. It was from their wedding. His wife was wearing a big fluffy dress and he was in a suit and looked young. He couldn't have been much older than Elby. That was a lovely dress, Meme said. We got down to work, sorting papers, clothes, books, and other things. What about these? Trey asked Memes, holding up a book titled The Astrobiologist's Almanac. Anything that's researched or Mars-based, always here, she said. He put the book in the stay pile and he kept going. While Trey and Memes went through Phineas's closet, I unpacked the dresser. There wasn't much worth sending to Earth. It was mostly clothes. There was a t-shirt that said, Mars First Farmer, I'm raising dust. Deep on the back of his sack drawer, I found something unexpected, a notebook. I flipped through the first few pages. It looked like a scientific diary about the weather and different seed tests. Then I saw this notation. What a wonderful day. Belle has arrived in our settlement. We love him already. My heart tripped. Memes, I said. Can I keep this? What is it, she asked. I showed her the page. She read it and looked at me. Of course you can keep it, she said and smiled. After all, you were his family too. That night I settled down under my cozy quilt with Leo asleep on the top of my feet and read Phineas's diary. Reading Phineas's words made me feel like he was in the room with me. I could hear his voice in every line. He had such a funny sense of humor. Broccoli, herbal, successful. A week later, he wrote, Broccoli banned from meme. Commander Sai says every year is gassy. You're barely included. Other observations about life on Mars were sprinkled among his scientific notes, which randomly focused on hydration levels, the moons, tech samples of algae paper. There was a tiny folded note that said, I'm sorry, with no signature. Adorable doodles of the cats in the margins. I could feel his excitement and worry in every word. So much was riding on him. There would be no survival without food. This is such a heavy responsibility. He worked so hard, harder than I'd ever imagined. Sometimes he got up in the middle of the night to make sure everything was working properly. His handwriting was neat and easy to read, although it became loopy when he was excited about something. It took me a while to understand his shorthand, but when I did, it made so much sense. AIW was short for all is well. Halfway through, the diary changed, fewer scientific notations and more observations about people. Mimi received news that her first grandchild was born, and she cried all day. She would never hold him. Another time he wrote, Today is Race's birthday. Happy birthday, sweet bee. Wait for me. 24 pages later, he starts writing about the terrible tragedy. We buried Liza today. Mars weeps. A few pages later, he writes, There is no reasoning with Sai ever this tragedy. He is blind in everything. Best hit run grief and listen to command. Months passed and he started writing again. Nothing is the same. I miss my friends dearly. We are so terribly alone now. The children are the only thing that keeps us going. The happy smiles are a reprieve from our loneliness. This must have been when they cut off communication with the other settlements, but some passengers made me wonder. It makes no sense to me. Preber adored Lisa. He would never have left her without a reason, and Commander Lauren has an undesirable character. I do not believe what they say. There is more to this story. Then the diary ended. The next morning, the laundry day, I went to Meme's room. She beamed at me when she opened her door. "I'll do your sheets," I told her. "You're such a good boy," she said. I really wasn't good. I had questions. After the dirty sheets were in the bundle by the door, I woke up my courage. "I'm confused," I told her. "About what, kitten?" she asked. "Lisa," I said. "I read Phineas's diary. Who was Peter? I have heard that name in a long time," she said. "He's Russian, a geologist. Phineas was very fond of him. What does he have to do with Lisa's death?" Memes sighed heavily. "I should have expected this. Why did they leave Lisa behind?" She smiled sadly. "I have no idea. Only Commander Laurent and Peter knows what happened, and we have never spoken to them about it." "What?" "You have to understand it was a very difficult time," she said. "There was talk of war on Earth. Sides were being chosen over Antarctica. Cy was under incredible pressure. Command ordered us to cease all contact with the other countries, but we ignored it for a time. After all, we were literally worlds away. We continued on what had been from the beginning. We traded and socialized and conducted joint missions." She looked down at her hands. They had looked so wrinkled suddenly. "Commander Lawrence was out on Rover with Lisa and Peter collecting samples," she continued. "An alert went out, saying their rover had gone missing. You know the rest. Cy and Ileana found Lisa. She died from her injuries." "Why don't you try to find out what happened?" "Cy suspended all communications with other countries," she said simply. "We tried to reason with him, but he was inconsolable. Lisa was his best friend's daughter. He'd grown up with her father. Will, Cy had promised to take care of Lisa on Mars. He loved her like she was his own daughter. After Lisa died and he contacted her parents, he didn't leave his room for days." "So you still don't know what happened?" She shook her head. "No," she said, "and I suppose we never will. I finally understood what Phineas had tried to tell me about weeds. Our settlement was overgrown with bad feelings, weeds from long ago, and they were strangling us to death." Via secure communication, date 10/28/2091, from CDR Dexter to U.S. Terrestrial Command. Message. Situation report. Morale is low. Please advise. Cy Dexter, Commander. Expeditionary and Settlement Team, United States Territory, Mars.